You're listening to the Betoota Advocate's weekly news wrap on Desert Rock FM 96.5.
Welcome back to the Betoota Advocate weekly news bulletin. Some sorry news down south as the community cases continue to grow. Old gold standard Gladys is finally up against a situation that she can't bluff her way out of, and it's looking pretty grim for the people of Greater Sydney. Things are fine in the Diamantina Shire. We had as Wendell pointed out in the bulletin last week, we had a false positive, but it did put the fear of God in the people of the Diamantina Shire for about 12 hours there. My name's Clancy Overell, editor of the Betoota Advocate, joined by Errol Parker. How are you, Errol?
Good, mate, and because out here in the Diamantina we aren't a marginal seat, and we're obviously held under power by the National Party, so our health services out here are completely useless. They're archaic, they're from the mid-50s, but because this seat is in no danger of being taken by, the likes of the catters or the shooters of fishes, we're not going to get any more health services out here. So, the virus, if it ever makes it out here, could do a little bit of damage for, the mild cold it is.
Yeah, no, there's no oxygen tanks, no ventilators, that's for sure, in the Betoota Base Hospital.
No, mate, they'll just leave you under a boree tree to die.
I think they still had an iron lung last time I went in there to get my appendix out. I saw that in one of the back rooms. But
I thought you got your appendix out at the vet.
No.
Vet?
No, that was that cyst I had on my loins.
Right. So the vet didn't do your vasectomy as well?
No.
Okay. Wendell, what's making news, mate?
Well, we are going to start off with the hub of the news cycle this week. The first story is 35 cases. How did this happen? Says Sydney man who went to IKEA, Messina and Bondi yesterday.
Yes, that giant cesspit they call Sydney is in a bit of strife this week. The spread of the Delta variant has turned into a full-blown outbreak, with cases spreading outside the Bondi bubble to the Greater Sydney region. And as the case numbers continue to grow, we broke a story about a Sydney resident who just could not comprehend how this thing blew up.
Yes, Miles Tanner, who lives near one of those beaches down there, told our reporter via telephone that he'd been heading out to do essential things, like popping into the Swedish furniture megastore IKEA to buy a lamp, or grabbing something from the popular ice cream chain Messina, or go for a stroll with friends in Bondi along the promenade just the day before. But he said that was all legal. Just like it was for his athleisure-wearing girlfriend who was going for catch-ups with her friends multiple times of the week and drinking wine out of water bottles in the park.
Yes, they truly are very unlucky down there in Sydney, those poor bastards down there.
Yeah, Miles Tanner says he has no idea how these cases are spreading.
Western Sydney, Miles, Western Sydney, which leads us into our next story with the New South Wales government sending an extra 100 cops out west to ensure, and I quote here, the WOGs adhere to the restrictions that Bondi ignored.
Yes, the crackdown comes after the Premier Gladys Berejiklian announced 44 new cases yesterday after a fortnight of this cluster pinballing around Bondi, right until it made its way into the ethnic communities out west. That's led an immediate change in tone from the authorities, who are now telling Western Sydney communities to stay the fuck at home or get locked up and stop being selfish idiots.
Obviously, they'd never speak to the east like that, given the amount of angry press they'd cop from the media elite. So the failings of the government are now being pushed out onto the motorways for the people in the west to deal with.
Yeah, don't know how it's so hard for these people in Western Sydney to get it into their heads. We've had clear, consistent messaging the whole way, so not sure what they're not understanding. Anyway, moving along, there's been lots of questions asked about what is happening on a federal level, and we wrote a story about that one that was about the Prime Minister churning through his collection of Hillsong rock albums to drown out the nation demanding answers.
Yes, the big bloke in chief reckons this country sounds like his nagging wife right now. Where are the vaccines? Which vaccines are safe? Where can we get them? Why isn't hardcore quarantine working? Blah, 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 blah.
Give the leader of the nation a fucking break, he says. So with Australia miles behind the titans of healthcare like the United States, Scotty has been forced to put on some of his favourite Christian rock tunes to see out the week. He's flicked the email to out of office and he'll be back to take the credit for something, next week or the week after.
Doing his bloody head in, he reckons. Now, some positive news from out here in Western Queensland, and a retail employee has abolished state QR check-in laws after a customer explained to her that they're bullshit.
Yes, it's very true, Wendell. A local law student working in the retail sector has been heaped with praise this week Melanie Whittenall says she's had a run-in with an older Australian who refused to sign in using the QR code before going on a rant about how they're being used to control Australians and make life hard for people like her, blah, blah, blah. So given Mel makes the rules, she heard the old girl out and went to Parliament House and changed the legislation just like that.
Yes, be the change you want to see in the world. Great stuff from young Mel there. At the ripe young age of 23, she's already enacted a significant piece of progressive legal policy. Inspiring stuff.
Sports news now, and a bloke clinging on to his vague Italian ancestry during the Euros says his family come from the north.
Yeah, the European Championships of Football is about to reach its crescendo with millions of people around the world turning up their accents and banging on about their distant European heritage. Blokes who spent 12 months in London and have a British grandfather are talking about it coming home, while third-generation Italians can't stop going on about Azzurri.
Yes, we spoke to one of the fans. His name was Angus Jones, and he said his Italian heritage comes from the north of the country, and he'll be representing that hard when his team takes on the English tomorrow morning. Well, Angus, I think the rest of the free world is with you, because the English are going to get what's coming to them.
It's coming Rome.
It would be an unbearable few months if it doesn't go to Rome, I think. Anyway, that's all I've got in front of me for our news wrap this week. Unless you guys have got anything else to add, we'll probably leave it on that note.
No, mate, pretty bloody quiet up here in the Diamantina this week. I wish we could say the same about people in Sydney, but, you know, if you're listening to this when you're down in Sydney, don't give up, because always remember that the people in Melbourne had it harder than you, so you can't complain.
You don't know what they went through, remember.
You don't know what they went through, mate.
One more thing, the head of the marketing at the Betoota Base Hospital has told me they've got 18 vials of Pfizer available and ready to go into arms, so please make your way in.
No, I think all of those are going to go to the boys at the Hooton School. Yeah, like Keith Carton's son, he's our mayor up here. There's going to be a few other, and Judge Stevens' son's going to get one. What's his fucking name? I think
Clancy, you promised me you'd get me one of those doses.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, you're not a fortunate son, so it ain't me.
Well, Wendell, mate, I bought a bunch of Sputnik ones on Alibaba, so you can have a Russian jab if you want. I'm going to get one of those this afternoon.
You only need to take one of those. Hey, they do the job.
They do, mate, and then mate, you won't be catching much after you have a Sputnik. Let me tell you that much.
Righto. Well, I think that's the one for me.
Yeah, billiet.
Hooroo!